JKB back with another episode, and today on the show I'm reviewing Halo Infinite. Thank you to Xbox Canada for the review copy. Two things I want to mention right off the top. I will not be spoiling any of the story in this review. There might be visual spoilers in the gameplay because I think I recorded most of this about halfway through my game sessions. The other thing I want to bring up is I'm losing my voice, so I apologize for not having the usual energy in my voice. Let's get into my thoughts on Halo Infinite. Alright, so two negatives right off the bat. There's no co-op mode, so you can't play with your friends online just like you could do in every other Halo game. It's just not here. Then on top of it, the multiplayer is a bit of a disaster. The battle pass is the most confusing, convoluted mess that doesn't pay out the correct XP as it should. And on top of it, Forge mode is nowhere to be seen, meaning we don't get the ability to create our own maps for another 8 months. Now, in saying all of that negative Nancy stuff, does the game deliver something to us at the end of the day? Yes. It delivers a campaign that I will go on record right now because it technically is being recorded. I don't know why I'm so stupid sometimes, but this is quite simply the best Halo experience campaign I've ever had in my life. I like this more than the original Halo. This, in an open world, with this campaign and what they've done with Master Chief, is exactly, and I mean exactly, to the point where this could be fan fiction, and some people might not like that, but Master Chief is a badass. You've got different, tones in this game that are all interfering with each other. You've got an enemy who is unbelievably written, and then you've got Master Chief, who you know and love, except you do peel back some of those layers and see a little bit of his heart, and that is special to me, and that's what made me cry. At the beginning of this game, there's a moment that I cried at where I just thought, oh my god, we're getting something. This is amazing. The opening of this game had me locked in immediately. Once I busted into the open world, it works. Works on every level in terms of its tone and the way the story is given to you, because the story is a bit confusing in terms of how it's actually doled out to you, because if you're not paying attention, you could just do campaign missions and not really know what you're doing. Now, at certain points in the game, you could return to the Pelican, which, this is not spoiling, but it's tough to tell you what's going on here, but you can push the missions forward, if you know what I mean. I don't want to give away anything, but you can choose to sort of go off on your own and just look at wild animals, or you can do the campaign. Now, in saying that, this is the first open world Halo game. And by the way, because I'm losing my voice, I'm going off script here. I'm just going over my notes, and I'm just getting to the point of this. There's major changes in this. Like, they cut up 12 missions of Halo. All of them I had a blast playing. Boss battles are spectacular. Enemy variety is amazing. Open world design, I would give an 8 out of 10. While I do feel like it's amazing going around an open world, and there's caves and there's an underground system in some of it, and all of these like installations of enemy, radars and armories and all this stuff. All of those things are very unique, but for some reason I just feel like this massive amounts of open land. Now, I'm not saying that this is a negative. I'm just saying, I love the open world in this, but it's not gonna blow your mind. It's sort of a standard open world design where things are, here, let me be really smart about this, because I was thinking about this, and when you're looking at game design, you're looking at the aspects of what makes the game fun. How is the game challenging is probably the most important aspect of this game. That's what I would have at the top of my list. Now, I played this on normal mode, and I also played it on a harder mode afterwards, but playing it on normal mode, it was difficult. There's a lot of very smart design when it comes to these installations you come across. You're going to notice that it's not very easy to just snipe from a rooftop. Now, I'll get into how you get to that rooftop, but very, and I got to applaud them in this, in terms of its level design when you get into the smaller sections, it's like a 10 out of 10. I mean, you're dealing with enemies coming out of corridors that you don't expect. You're dealing with smart enemies and I'll get into how smart they are later on in this review, but this is an amazing accomplishment in terms of the mission-based structure here. And I don't know if other reviewers are even paying attention to this stuff, but what I'm saying is there's a difficult level there because of how it's designed. So they know that if there's a corridor, or if there's like an overarching arc that you can walk over the base, they know where to put the enemies and they know how to dole them out to you. Because as you're playing these missions, more enemy types will show up in ships and they just land right in the battlefield and they're right into the battle. And all of this is seamless and it works in a way that you've experienced in Halo before, but not in an open world design. So it works really well. Now moving on to what is another major aspect to this game. I'm just doing this whole review in one take. Screw it, we'll do it live. There are Spartan cores all around this open world. You go around, you collect them. What do? They give you a point. These points go to your ability upgrade menu system. In that system, you're able to upgrade 5 different cores. Now, let me go through them quickly here. They're all amazing. They all go into the strategy of the game and how difficult it can be later. They all play into that. So you've got the grapple shot, which lets you grapple up to basically anything you can connect it to. It's a certain distance. You have to be standing, within, I'd say, within game at least, 2 warthogs away. If you grapple onto a vehicle, guess what? You go in the driver's seat. If you grapple onto an enemy holding a shield, guess what? You pull that shield away. If you see some weapons sitting on the ground and you're in the middle of a gunfight and you ran out of ammo, guess what you can do? You can grapple that gun and pull it towards you. Let me say that this grapple shot is a game changer for Halo. It's the biggest, I think, feature personally that makes this stand out to be an incredible Halo game. Next up, you have your shield core, which is simply your overall shield that Master Chief has had forever in all of the games. Next up, you have the threat sensor. This is a sensor you could shoot onto the wall. Any of the enemies that step into the zone of the sensor will be revealed on your HUD. So this is super useful for some of the enemy types that have, the energy sword. They go invisible, so you can't see them. What do? You shoot down a sensor on the floor, and now, boom, you can see them. Last but not least, oh no, there's 2 more, I should say. But, the last one I hardly use, which is a thruster. So, say a bomb is thrown on the ground in front of you, you can thrust backwards and avoid the explosion. So, the thruster's cool as well, but I hardly used it. The last one, though, the drop wall. Now, if you've experienced the multiplayer game, you know what the drop wall is. It's different in the campaign versus the multiplayer. The drop wall in this game can have special abilities. So, when you upgrade these things as well, new abilities are attached to them. So the drop wall will add this electrical charge to any of the bullets that go through the wall, meaning if you stand on one side of the wall and shoot your bullets through, they're going to be extra powerful. So like I said, all of these abilities are tied into the overall strategy of the game, and as you get deeper, it moves into balancing that out because the enemies get more difficult later on in the game. So of course you want to become more powerful and have different abilities, different weapons, different upgraded weapons. I should say that as well. You can upgrade the weapons in, well, it's not the sense of collecting them and adding points, but you find upgraded weapons. I did want to bring up the pacing of the game overall. When you're in the missions, I feel the pacing of the game is perfect. I feel like the mission structures are amazing. They're epic. The scale of these things are incredible. You're going to have a blast going through the missions. However, I don't know if the pacing works so well in the open world because there's lots of stretches of just climbing and looking around. So some people out there are going to have a bit of an issue with that. But if you're a fan of Halo and just open world games, you can overlook the fact that there's sometimes huge parts of the map that are just barren. But in saying that, there are vehicles in this game, so of course you can use those if you choose. Now, this is important as well. The AI in the game is amazing on the enemies. Now, each enemy type has different abilities, so you've known most of the enemies that you're going to come across in this game. But in saying that, there are some surprises, and I'm not going to spoil that here. But the AI on these enemies, and in terms of the AI movements, it's everything you've experienced in a Halo game before. But what's special here is that the AI of these characters feels next level because of the voice acting. You're going to hear the grunts saying things, and no two grunts in this game speak alike. And I'm dead serious on this, and I'm not over exaggerating, and maybe somebody will come across a lot of the same text, or a lot of the same audio coming out of the grunts, but for the most part, I think I might have heard them say the same line once or twice here and there. But every time you go near a grunt, and in different parts of the map, they're saying different things and stories, and it's unbelievable. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but all of the enemies do this. They feel unique because of this. They feel like they have their individual characters attached to them, not just AI characters, but like a real team of enemies that are coming after you based on their personalities, based on their physical appearance, based on how important they are to the game, which I don't want to spoil anything here, but there are targets in this game, which I'll get to in a second here. There's also large sections of the map where you have to reveal things, and you do that by going to these bases. So the forward operating bases are really interesting because you get to them, and this is where you're going to clear out the enemy, and then it's open to you. So you can fast travel to the base itself, or you can call a warthog. So a giant pelican comes down, drops a warthog for you. Great. Now I'm going to go across the map using that. Now, let's just say this as well, because this is important to the game. There's targets, which are basically assassinations that you can do. These targets can vary from different types of enemies, but of course they're more challenging because these enemies have shields on them. So I would consider them to be boss battles. So I'm not going to get into detail of those because there's, I think, 15 of them. I'll say that. And I can't believe how much fun it is to just get a Banshee and go hunt down some guy, in the woods somewhere or whatever on the mountainside. He's got a whole army of characters with him. You got to strategize how you're going to take him out. You're going to go in there with a vehicle. You're going to go in there just with your weapons. You're going to take some of your AI teammates. Yes, you can do that. In this game, there's going to be teammates that are sort of in bad situations where you go into the situation, help them out. Once you do that, you're able to collect them and put them in a warthog. And all of a sudden, they're shooting out the side of the warthog and helping you. This game has it all. Now, does the AI work wonders? I mean, it's decent. It's not going to blow your mind, but the AI on the teammates is okay. It works. I'm not going to complain and say, like, it's a disaster. It definitely works. They'll get in the warthog and they'll go to battle, and it's great. Now, once you take down some targets, you gain some points. The points go towards unlocking things at the base. So things like new weapons and ammo and new vehicles. So that's what you do when you want to upgrade your bases and essentially leave those bases with actual weapons you want to use. Now, I should also point out that there's weapons all over this game, everywhere. You're going to be constantly finding enemy type weapons all over the place, and that's kind of the joy of this game, because you got to look at the situations and consider what's ahead of you. So, go in there with a simple weapon, or do you want to spend some time and get a better weapon? Now, there's radio towers where grunts are basically putting hate speech out into the air, so you got to take out the tower. Once you do that, it explodes and it's cool. You got to shoot a certain section on the tower itself, a glowing sort of like rod energy core. You're going to see that a lot in the game. A lot of the missions are revolved around that in the open world aspect, not the campaign missions, but just go to a base and take out their shields. So you got to go to the base, reveal the shields. All of a sudden these cores pop out, blow them up, that type of thing. Now, you've got giant bases with multi-level missions. And what I meant to say in my notes would be like, you go into this giant base, right? And you've got all these rooms and shields and enemies, and you got to deal with the situations as you see fit. However, there's objectives, and the objective is to just basically take out, say, a power core of the base. That's going to disrupt their services across the map and blah, blah, blah. You get the idea, right? Standard open world stuff. Now, what's cool about this, I feel like every time I came across a base, it wasn't that like copy and paste feeling of past open world games where it's like, oh, here's a base, go in that room. Yeah, we know. It felt like these bases were slightly different, and they felt different because of the enemy types, but also because of the way the layout was, and it was designed, the way it was designed, I should say, but also the way you interact with like blowing it up. There could be, a tower they want you to blow up, or a tank, or an energy cell. They all seem different, and that kind of came to the end of the game, made me feel like, or I should say, at the end of the game, made me feel like I was experiencing something new. You could like open the gates at some of these these missions, I should say, or you could decide to just grapple over the wall. You could take out energy cells that control the energy walls. You have to go into the base and actually look for that coil to be able to unlock that room. So there's like multi-levels to this that I don't think a lot of people would expect. And like I said, the dialogue, and I apologize once, I'm losing my voice, so that's why I'm just trying to get through this review, but the dialogue on the enemies feels alive due to how many things they say in the current situations. Like when you shoot somebody or you blow up something next to a huge station and you go to the next part of that mission, the enemies will interact with you in a way where they know what you just did. So if you blow up a huge fuel station, they'll be like, oh my god, there's the guy that did the fuel station. It's like, that's how this game works, but they're all tied into each other. I feel like there's some sort of overall AI that actually controls what they say to you, because they won't say those things to you unless certain things have happened. So it makes it feel alive. The missions are epic in scale and size. The rooms that you enter are gigantic in terms of the campaign itself and just the missions between the campaign. Master Chief is a complete badass in this game. I mean, he is every word that comes out of his mouth is spectacular. The character that he interacts with, that we all know and have seen in the trailer, he's actually well written, and his story actually touched me by the end of this. The dialogue between Master Chief and the characters, I'll just say that, is amazing. I'm so in love with it that I just want to listen to it all the time. The story is tragic as it unfolds, but you never lose hope, because Master Chief is a badass in this game, and you feel that all the way through. Enemy types vary, and it's incredible. Again, the voice acting is amazing. The map is gigantic, and I could just go on about this game for another 20 minutes, but I want to keep it short. Multiplayer is a bit of a mess in terms of the battle pass, like I said before. And in closing this review out, I know that I'm missing a lot in this review, and I'm losing my voice. I went off script. I apologize for how sloppy this is. But I feel like I needed to get this out. I needed to say this to you guys, that this is my favorite Halo game to date. I would put it basically in line with the first Halo. The multiplayer is amazing to play if you can overlook the battle pass disaster. The campaign pushes you. It just pushes you forward to experience it. And while the scope and scale is gigantic, it feels like an intimate story because it is an intimate story. It's a very weird feeling, and maybe it doesn't jive that well together at the end of the day, but overall, this is a step in the right direction. This is what Halo should be from now on. Open world, massive, huge battles. We're missing the co-op, we're missing the Forge. I'm still going to say this. It's my game of the year because of how fun it is. When you have those abilities and you get all of them upgraded, when you go into the battlefield, you feel like... I don't know if some of you out there do this, but every once in a while I'll plug in my Nintendo 64 just to play GoldenEye for 5 minutes, just to shoot people in that game, because it brings back such memory and joy to my heart. This is the same thing. I think people will be turning this game on for the next 6 years and just having an absolute blast, especially when the co-op goes online. Again, I'm not even going to score the game. I don't know how to score a game like this. It's missing things like, yeah, you could say it's a 7.5 or it's 8.5 because it's missing co-op, it's missing Forge. But I'm just going to say this is my game of the year. I'm so happy this game exists in my life because I'm able to go into this open world. I'm able to go into the multiplayer, which is free, I should point out. You don't even need to buy the campaign version of the game to play it. So that is a bonus. And overall, the gameplay itself is the best I've experienced ever. In any Halo game, I should say. Yeah, I'm just saying in Halo. It's the best Halo in terms of multiplayer. Or I should say, well, yeah, that, and its gameplay. I'm all over the place today. I apologize. I'm not feeling great, but thank you so much for watching. I can't score the game. I just don't know what to tell you guys. It's like an 8.5 my game of the year. That makes no sense. I know that. But there's two sides to me. One that just wants to be a gamer and says I love the game, and then my critical side that, yeah, it's an 8.5 because it's missing things. And, you know, it's not perfect. But it's still my game of the year as a gamer. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'm just being real. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. I don't know what to say. So thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate the people that understand what I'm trying to do here. As I lose my voice, I apologize again. I'm ending. I'm going. See ya.